We all seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course, I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state. I need to be in that. That is your answer. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy and they seek the happiness. If you really think about our life, we are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again. We are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we are pursuing happiness, we are chasing and we are seeking for happiness, but yet we have not found it. So, what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We are seeking it, we are finding for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we are finding or we are seeking this happiness from a source that the happiness does not exist. Because we are seeking happiness from external world. We are seeking happiness from these materialistic things. Well, when you seek happiness from materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure, but that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification. But in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the contentment about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you're finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So, will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answers this question. He says, yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dhammapada, Buddha says, if one with an impure mind speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him like a cartwheel following the ox. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse, Buddha says, if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pure, we can find the happiness. So, how can we find or how can we gain this purity in our mind in order to find the happiness? Well, Buddha teaches us there are a lot of things that you can do to make your mind pure. So today, I'm going to share with you a few things that can give you the happiness in your life, that you can find the happiness in your life. First thing, accepting the reality of life will give you the happiness. You know, life is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we have beautiful memories, sometimes we also have miserable memories. So life is not something that is going equally every day. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When you realize this reality, you can face these situations successfully. Right? It is not always this bad experience makes us frustrated. It is our reaction towards this bad experience makes us frustrated. Whenever you get a bad experience or a bad day or a bad situation, tough situation, difficult situation, you have two choices. Either you can focus on the pain and feel miserable about that situation, or you can focus on the lesson that bad situation teaches us and learn from it and start growing your life. So, if you accept the reality of life, it is not temporary. Sometimes the people around us are not in our control. We cannot control their reactions. We cannot control their opinions. So when you realize these situations, you can face those situations successfully. That is one thing, accepting reality of the life. Number 2, Buddha said, be generous. Practicing generosity is a major practice in Buddhism. Well, in Buddhism, the generosity is known as Dāna. In Dāna, Buddha says that you have to give without any expectations. We have to give and we have to dedicate towards others without expecting anything in return. That is one thing that we have to practice. Most of the time, we like to hold on to things or gather the things towards us. That is what people think. When you gather more, when you collect more things, you will get rich and you will gain happiness. But that does not give you the happiness. It will give you the pleasure, but it is temporary. So what we have to do, Buddha says, be generous, give, help others, dedicate a part of your life on behalf of others. When you do that, when you become more generous, let's say like this, you gave some foods to a poor person, let's say like that. When you see that person is having those foods and overcoming his hunger and making his life much better, you can be happy by seeing that. When you become happy like that, you feel happy about yourself. Right? Nothing can give you that happiness. Like by eating a good food, by dressing a nice dress, you cannot gain that happiness. You don't feel happy about yourself. Right? Let's say after hundred of years later, maybe 10 decades later, when you think about that incident, I gave this food to this poor person. When you remind that, you feel happy. Even then you feel happy. That means happiness is long-lasting. So Buddha says, be generous, help people, do something nice every day for a person. That is one thing we can do. And number 3, forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most important things that we can do to create happiness in our life. We have to forgive ourselves. Also, we have to forgive others too. Because forgiving, when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you are saying okay to others' mistakes. It's okay. No, you're not saying like that. When you forgive, you make your heart free. So when you forgive, it's not for that person, it is for you. And also we have to forgive for ourselves. There are so many mistakes that we all have done in the past. If you hold on to past, and if you make this present moment miserable, that will not give you the happiness. So what do we have to do? Whatever the bad thing that we have done in the past, we have to have this ability to forgive ourselves and start all over again. We all have that ability, right? We all have that privilege to start our life again and make it a better one. Okay? So no one is perfect in this world. We all have done mistakes. One thing that we have to do is to forgive and start doing good things. So these are 5 things that we can do to create happiness in our life. And also, there is one happiness that is called the ultimate happiness in this world that the Buddha teaches us. That is called Nibbana or Nirvana. That is the enlightenment. When you realize about the reality of this life, and when you remove this desire or the craving that arises within your mind, then Buddha says that is the ultimate happiness. Simply, the Nibbana means Ragakkayo, Dosakkayo, Mohakkayo, Nibbana. That means removing of the desire, anger, and the delusion of the mind is called the enlightenment. So that is the highest level of happiness that we all can reach. So when you practice these practices, right, when you engage yourself in wholesome state, that will create you the happiness in the life. So practice these things and make your life a happier one. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome everyone to another video. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the threefold practices in Buddhism. Now, no matter how the way that you are approaching the Buddha's teachings, these are the three practices that you need to practice in Buddhism. Okay? So we are going to take a look at these things. Before understanding these three practices, we have to understand why we should practice these things. Okay? What is the goal and what is the ultimate goal of Buddha's teachings? Now, the ultimate goal of all the Buddhist teachings is to liberate your mind from unsatisfactoriness. Okay? Liberate your mind from all the sufferings in life. Okay? Because the Buddha said that the life is based on unsatisfactoriness. Okay? So once you have a deeper and a wiser understanding about your life, then you can liberate your mind from all the unsatisfactoriness in your life. Okay? So Buddha realized that to achieve this state, to enlighten your mind and to liberate your mind, you need to make some conditions and you have to practice your mind. So that is why Buddha introduced us these three practices to practice in our practical life in order to enlighten our mind. So, without any further ado, let's dive into these practices. So the first practice in Buddhism is called Sila. Now, I have discussed about Sila in an earlier video. You can watch it here. So basically, the Sila means the moral and ethical conduct. Being disciplined from your body and from your words. Okay? So once you practice this Sila, you can be disciplined from your body and from your words. Now, Buddha understood that when we are living with people, the way we behave, right, the actions that we do from our body and the words that we speak will impact the lives of other people as well as us. Okay? It will impact the life of ourselves, the way we behave and way we speak. And also, it will highly influence the others' lives too. And that is why Buddha said, purify your conduct. Do wholesome things from your body and from your words. So Sila helps you to practice the verbal and the physical conduct in a moral and a more ethical and wholesome way. Okay? So in Sila, we have precepts. Basically, for lay people like you, you have 5 precepts that you can protect. Okay? The first one is abstaining from killing beings. The Buddha says that stay away from killing beings. In that way, you become disciplined from your body. Abstaining from stealing. Do not take others' possessions without their permissions, without the permissions of themselves, with the stealing mind. Okay? Once you protect that, you be disciplined from your body. And Buddha said that stay away from sexual misconduct. When you abstain from sexual misconduct, you become disciplined from your body. And the Buddha said, stay away from lying. Be disciplined from your words. Do not break the trust of others from your words. And finally, Buddha says, stay away from intoxicating your body. Okay? Do not use intoxicants and other drugs. It will lead to harmful situations and harmful consequences in your life. So basically, Buddha introduced us these 5 precepts to protect in your life. When you observe and when you protect these 5 precepts, you become disciplined from your body. Okay? So that is why Sila helps you to be disciplined, to live a disciplined life. Why we should live a disciplined life? We should live a disciplined life to stay away from regrets. Because when you look at these 5 precepts, if you engage in these things, if you kill animals, if you steal others' possessions, if you commit sexual misconduct, if you lie, and if you intoxicate yourself, what will happen? There are a lot of regrets. There will be a lot of regrets in your life. And also there will be things that you have to worry about. That is why Buddha says, stay away from these 5 things and you will live a regretless life. Okay? So that is the first practice. Moving on to the second practice, we have Samadhi. Now, Samadhi can be translated as concentration or mental peacefulness inside your mind. Now remember, this Samadhi is supported by the first practice that is called the Sila. The Buddha said, when you practice Sila or when you live a moral and ethical life, what will happen? You will have less regrets in your mind. You will have no regrets in your mind. Once you have no regrets in your mind, what will happen? It will lead to the mental happiness. Because most of the people, they worry about the things that they have done in the past. Okay? Unwholesome things that they have done in the past. But once you live according to the precepts, once you live a virtuous life, then you can be happy about yourself. And also, your mind will be in a good and a happy state. That is why this Samadhi is supported by the Sila. Now, why we need Samadhi? Now, we need Samadhi to think clearly. Because you know that when your mind is busy, when your mind is scattered, and when it runs here and there, it is very difficult to think clearly. Now, Buddha considered that thinking clearly and thinking freely is a great benefit to understand the reality of your life. And that is why we need to practice Samadhi. For practicing Samadhi, Buddha introduced many meditations. So one type of meditation is called Samatha meditation. Samatha meditations helps you to condense your mind and find that peacefulness inside your mind. Okay? It includes loving kindness meditations, breathing meditations, mindfulness meditations. All those meditations will help you to achieve a peaceful and a calm life. Okay? So, but remember this, to achieve a peaceful and calm life, we have to focus on living a virtuous life, living a disciplined life. Keep that in your mind. So let's move on to the third practice, and this is the final practice in Buddha's teachings. That is called wisdom or Panya in Buddhism. Now, so many people think that knowledge is wisdom. Always remember, knowledge is a part of wisdom, but it is not the wisdom. Now, Buddha explains that you must achieve wisdom from 3 means, from 3 types of wisdoms. The first type of wisdom is called Suttamaya Panya. Suttamaya Panya means the wisdom that is gained through learning. Okay? You can learn, you can read, and you can listen to sermons, right? That is called the knowledge. Of course, wisdom has a part of knowledge. And also the second type of wisdom is called Chintamaya Prajna. Chintamaya Prajna is the wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting. Okay? The wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting on what you have learned, the reality of your life. When Buddha teaches about the reality of the life, when Buddha teaches about the impermanence and the reality of all the things, you have to wisely reflect on it. Okay? You have to think upon it. And once you think and once you wisely reflect on it, you gain the wisdom. You gain a deeper understanding. Okay? That is called Chintamaya Prajna, the wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting. And also in the third type of wisdom, this is the most important type of wisdom, that is called Bhavanamaya Prajna, the wisdom that is gained by practicing. Okay? Now, the wisdom that is gained by practicing is supported by all those two wisdoms, Chintamaya Prajna and Shutamaya Prajna. The wisdom that is gained by listening or learning, and also the wisdom that is gained by wisely reflecting. Now, Buddha says, when you learn and when you think and when you wisely reflect on it, then you can apply it to your practical life by doing meditations, by doing it practically. Okay? Many of the people believe that Bhavanamaya Prajna is only based on meditations. No. Bhavana does not mean only the meditation. It gives the meaning of development or practicing. Okay? So you have to look, how can I apply these Buddha's teachings? How can I practice these things in my practical life? Once you do it, your wisdom will be developed. That is how you practice the wisdom in Buddha's teachings. So basically, these are the three main practices in Buddhism. Sila gives you the ethical and wholesome bodily and verbal conduct. And Samadhi will help you to develop a concentrated and a calmer and a peaceful mind. And Prajna gives you a deeper and a wiser understanding about the reality and our existence and all the experiences that we go through in our life. Once you practice these three practices, you will be directed. Your life will be focused on liberation. Your mind will be well prepared for the liberation and to a deeper understanding about the life. So, these are the three practices that we practice in Buddhism. Try to practice these things and try to apply it to your practical life. Wish you all happy and a peaceful life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. A quick question. I need to ask, how many times have you made timetables and to-do lists in the beginning of the year, maybe beginning of the term or beginning of the day, and you did nothing according to it? Now, we all have done this. We all have made to-do lists, we all have made timetables, and we cannot stick to it. Why? Because we procrastinate. So in today's video, we're gonna be talking about what is procrastination and how to stop it. So first of all, don't be afraid of procrastination. Why? Because it's a normal human nature. You know, average human is a good procrastinator, right? Average human is lazy. We all have that feeling of procrastination and we all have that laziness within us. But if you need to rise above the average, if you need to be someone special in this society, you have to stop these bad habits, right? So, first of all, don't be afraid of the procrastination. We can stop that. Remember, the procrastination or the postponing, this mental laziness within yourself is a habit, right? So habits are all in your head. It's not in your body, it's not in your environment, it's all in your head. So you can control it and you can stop it, right? So, first of all, let's talk about what is procrastination. The procrastination is that mental barrier or the mental resistance that keeps you away from doing the things what should be done, right? So for an example, when you wake up in the morning and if you have to study in the morning, do you feel like getting down from the bed and start studying? When you are in that situation, you find that mental stress and mental barrier inside you. Your mind says, no, just stay on the bed for 5 minutes. It's okay, I have time, I can do it later. That is what mind says all the time. But the same mind that told us to procrastinate will complain when the things getting worse. When the exams are near, when the deadline is near, if you haven't done anything, your same mind that directed you to procrastinate will complain for you. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do the things according to the timetable? You are a procrastinator. That is what mind says, right? So we should not let our mind to trick us. So, how to stop procrastinating? Well, there is a nice Dhammapada verse that was preached by our Supreme Buddha. In that Dhammapada verse, we find lots of things that will help us to stop this bad habit. Supreme Buddha says, Uttanavato satimato suchikamassa nisammakarino. If a person is energetic, Uttanavato satimato, if he is mindful, Suchikamassa nisammakarno, if he does the good thing and the right thing from his body and mind and from his speech. Sanyatassacha dhammajivino, if he can control his sensual desires, sensual cravings, appamattassa yasobhivaddati, that diligent man's fame and wealth will be developed. So in that Dhammapada verse, we find everything what we need to stop procrastination. So what are these things? Supreme Buddha said, Uttanavato, be energetic, take action. Well, there's only one way to stop procrastination, and that is to take action. But that is a tough hurdle to jump, right? To be energetic, to take action, and to do the works, it's a tough thing to do. So what we should practice to jump this tough hurdle, we should practice, first of all, we should practice the mindfulness. That is why Supreme Buddha said, Uttanavato satimato. You should be mindful about yourself. You should be aware of yourself constantly. So for what we should be aware, we should be aware towards our mind. Right? Now, before I told you, the procrastination is a mental condition. Right? It is all in your head. It's a thought, it's an emotion. So you should be mindful and you should be aware of your thoughts. Right? You should have that ability. When you become more aware of your thoughts, you can have that ability to detect what is coming inside to your mind. When the laziness comes in, when the lazy thoughts come in, you know, oh, that's a lazy thought. And now I need to take action. Right? When the anger comes in, you can detect it. Now there's anger now. My mind is angry now. When you become more aware, then you get the opportunity to control it. When you become more aware of your thoughts, you will have that ability to control that thought. So first thing is to be aware, to be mindful, right? So that is why Supreme Buddha said, Uttanavato satimato, suchikamassa nisammakarino, do what is right, right? So when you're studying, if your mobile phone is next to you, right? After some time, you get that mobile phone and you scroll through social media. You scroll through the phone. So in that time, if you can ask from yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the good thing? Am I doing the thing that should be done? Then your mind answers, this is not what should I do. I should study, get back to study. Right? That is why Supreme Buddha said, always do what is right and do what should be done first. Right? After that, in the spare time, in the leisure time, you can have that experience. You can have that. You can enjoy yourself. Right? That is why Supreme Buddha said, Suchikamassa nisammakarino, sanyatassacha dhammajivino. You need to have that ability to control your sensual desires, right? Now, your mind likes to log on to social media, and your mind likes to be lazy and to stay without doing anything, right? So that is why your mind always tries to procrastinate. So Supreme Buddha said, to be a special person, to have the successfulness into your life, you need to give up the sensual desires for some extent, right? So it is very nice and it's very comfortable feeling that you feel in the morning on the bed, right? It is nice and warm. But if you have to study, you have to give up that pleasurable feeling, and you have to get back to studies. So that is why you need to have that mental power and mental ability to stop or to give up the sensual desires for some extent and do the work. Because if you do the easy thing, right? If you continue to do the easy thing always, remember, tomorrow will be hard. Your future will be hard. So if you need to be happy in the future, you have to undergo what is hard today. So that is why Supreme Buddha said, you need to control the sensual desires. If you can do these things, Supreme Buddha said, appamatasaya sobhivadati, that diligent man's fame and wealth will be developed. So these are the things which helps us to stay away from procrastination. So I need to share with you some more tips and more things to help you to stop this bad habit. Remember, the procrastination is a habit, and it is a way of relieving the stress, right? So for an example, if your exams are near, right? If you have a lot to study, normally what you do you study or you procrastinate? You procrastinate because your mind needs to relieve that stress in some way. So your mind chooses the easiest way to procrastinate. So always remember, it is a habit, and that habit can be broken. So how to break your habit? There is only one way: to take action, right? Do the opposite thing. In the case of procrastination, you have to take action, right? So that is what you should be done. And also there's another thing. When you make the timetables, when you make the to-do lists, always make the to-do lists and the timetables that you can afford. Sometimes students, they make the timetables and to-do lists that they cannot afford those things, right? For an example, many of us make the timetables like this. I'm going to study for 1.5 hours. I'm going to study for 3 hours. But your mind is not ready for that. So what you have to do? You have to make achievable and realistic goals and timetables. Let's say like this. If you have to study for 5 minutes, would you be happy? Only for 5 minutes. Your mind also happy, and your mind tends to do that, right? So what you have to do, if you cannot study for maybe 20 minutes, just make a timetable or a to-do list to study for 5 minutes. Tell your mind that I have to study only for 5 minutes. Just that, it's all, right? Then you have that motivation, and then you have that power to get up from the bed and get up from the place where you are and start studying. So what you have to do? Set the achievable goals in your timetables, right? You can start from 5 minutes, or if you cannot start from 5 minutes, just start from 1 minute. It's okay. If you cannot start from 5 minutes, just start from 1 minute. Who cares? It's okay. The reason that we have to set these achievable goals is because when we set these small goals, right, small tasks, in reality, we do more than that, right? Everyone can study more than 5 minutes. Everyone can study more than 1 minute. So in reality, you do more than that, right? And by the time, little by little, you can increase the amount of time that you are studying, right? So that is much better than postponing the works. That is much better than doing nothing. So always set the achievable tasks. And there's another one. Ask one of your friends or one of your parents to review what you have done at the end of the day. Then you will have that motivation, or you will have that power inside to do more and more, to impress your friends, maybe to impress your parents, right? Ask one of your friends or parents to review and check what you have done. And also, this is the main thing that you have to do. You need to change your mindset. Don't label yourself as a procrastinator. Remember, you're not a procrastinator, but you only have a habit of procrastinating. So you can break it. The more you label yourself as a procrastinator, the more you will procrastinate. So what you have to do, change your mindset and think that this can be broken, this bad habit can be broken, and I have that power inside me to do work and to be successful. Okay? So these are the things that we can do to stop procrastination. And always remember, finally, always remember this, right? When you're procrastinating, when you're postponing, you're not only postponing and procrastinating your work, but you also procrastinate your happiness. So don't let your procrastination to destroy your happiness. So stop procrastination by practicing these tips and have a happy life. Namo Buddhaya.